I have the path that I want to go now. So this is what I did. Back to the deconstruct B-rep. Okay, I decided I'm going to do sort of an offset-based approach, and so I grabbed my top curve. So this is the path that I'm thinking I'm going to go down now. So I just mentioned to you before I started recording, there are like 12 or 15 different paths that I'm considering right now. And this one seems like it's going to work out well. And it's because the way I want to do it is I essentially want to, and I'm drawing it here on this piece of paper. This is a basic diagram of what I want to do, right? I have an endpoint and an endpoint, and I want to draw that line and then extrude it both ways to create the surface. And then I'm going to extrude that surface backwards to create the box that I'm going to use for my morph. It seems a little crazy, and it will only work really for like a it should mostly work for this kind of a pattern where it's like sort of a flat sort of thing, unless you're doing it piece by piece. Okay, so if you're going to do something like this, it's going to work for this one. But it's an interesting exercise nonetheless.
Which page you choose, the top one or the bottom?
Top, I think. No, I actually grabbed the bottom one. Yeah, I grabbed the bottom one.
The bottom one?
Yeah. Okay, so what I did was it doesn't matter, top or bottom, really. So I grabbed an edge, and then I offset it. And so I have to basically make sure that I'm offsetting it in the direction that's going to be on the surface that I'm trying to operate on. So right now my positive 1 is going in the wrong direction. So I'll put a slider on here for negative, I don't know, 5 to 5. I'll just put it right there. So 5 is definitely way too much. In fact, a foot I think will work fine for us. So we're going to use a lot of analysis tools here. So I'm kind of moving away from the box morph tutorial and moving into more analysis tool tutorials, because this is going to be heavy on analysis. So, and I'm going to cross-reference these actual numbers that I measured off of the actual hardware that I modeled. So the way that I'm going to do this is by evaluating a parameter, evaluating a parameter on the line, which means it's going to be sort of a distance across the line, and it'll place a point. And then I'm going to take the curve endpoints, and I'm going to map those to their associated parameters. So it's going to look like this. The curve offset, or rather the offset curve, I need to first find the endpoints, and that's under curve and analysis and under endpoints. And in case you're wondering, I got offset curve from curve and utility. Plug that in. So this puts a point at either end. And the parameter part comes into play now. I'm going to go to analysis, and I'm going to use evaluate curve. And so evaluate curve here, first and foremost, it evaluates this parameter on the curve, and it'll place a point based off of a distance that I give it. So if I look at my geometry down here, I need to zoom in on it here real fast. The distance, basically, this is the side that's going to attach to the glass. And so this is the kind of base point that's going to be against the side of my panel. So that means that the distance I need my param to go is going to go the depth or length of the box. I know for some of you it's a little harder to understand this, but the depth or length of the box right here is this surface. Let me turn it back on for you. Why can't I see it? Oh, that. This. Why won't it show me? This one. Yeah, sorry. So it's that surface. So that eval gets this as the parameter value, and it's a numerical value. So that means it's going to start at the end, and it's just going to move along that curve that distance that I told it. So this point that it created is exactly as far from the edge as the geometry that I am measuring down below, the armature. Now I don't know what the nature of this error is. Parameter outside of the curve domain. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, come on. Really? You're going to do this to me now? Try to flatten it. What? You've got to be kidding me. Hang on. All right, so you guys are really getting a taste of the exploration game here, guys. So I have another option. That path isn't working out the way I thought it was going to work out. I don't know why this is saying that the curve or the parameter is outside of the curve domain. So I have another option. It might be a little longer, but it could work. So if I have my two endpoints, and I want to basically create a copy of a point that moves inward from those two endpoints, you can't really offset a point because a point doesn't necessarily have direction. But you can move it, and it creates a copy. And the cool thing about move is I can just create a vector that goes in the direction toward the center of the line. So I need to find the center line midpoint. You're right there. I need to find the center line midpoint, and I need to map a vector from the endpoints to the midpoint, which is going to give me something that I can... Oh no, that won't work in curved cases. Ugh. Parameters what I need. Well, we can do it this way for this exercise, and you can... Anyway, there will be a number... I'm starting to think that every single situation for this method is going to have to be looked at very carefully. But anyway, this one works because it's pretty simple. So I'm going to get rid of this. And what I'm going to do now is find the center point of this. So I need to divide that curve as well. So I'm going to go to division and divide curve. I'll plug that in here. And you're going to divide it by 2 subdivisions. Okay. And then you'll have to list item to grab that particular edge. So set list item point, and then a slider from 0 to 3, 0 to 2 actually. So not that one. It's going to be obviously number 1. So then here's the kicker. The mapping part is going to be what's called vector 2 point, and it's under vector and vector, and it's right here, vector 2 point. You're going to need 2 of these. Now the first one is going to go from your start point to the midpoint. That's your A and your B. And then the second one is going to go from your end point to the midpoint. So now you have 2 vectors. I'll offset it so you can see that a little bit better. So 2 vectors are going opposite directions. If I display them with vector display, you'll see them like this. Let's see, there's that. Anchor point. That. So see how this one is going in, and this one's going the opposite direction. So let's use them. I'm going to move now, and while moving, remember we need direction and magnitude. The cool thing is our magnitude actually exists right down here, right down at depth and length. And so I just need to bring in, under transform, I'm going to use Euclidean and move. And then I'm also going to bring in an amplify for each one. And remember, those get tied to the T input. And then that magnitude here, take the depth, length, plug it into amplitude for each of them. And then you just borrow the vector. So the vector goes in here. The geometry is going to be the start point. And then vector goes in here, and the geometry is going to be the end point. So I'll select these now, and here, finally, we have the 2 points that exist that distance away from my endpoints. I know it took a while to get there, but we got it. So let me give you a moment to get caught up before we do anything else.